Hey, what's up guys? I'm Greg Builds, and today I'll show you a few awesome banner designs. For the first design, you're going to need paper and a daisy. Then blend them together in the crafting table. Then use a red banner and black dye. And we can use this cross pattern here. Then use the cross pattern banner and add in a black dye. Then use this triangle design here. Then we could throw in the daisy scroll pattern with a red dye. Then click the daisy design. Then we can do the same exact thing with black dye. Then we can remove the scroll and use red dye. And use the top down triangle. Then lastly, throw the banner back in, use red dye, and use this squiggly design down here. And this will give us the design. Now for this next banner, you're going to need an orange banner and red dye. And use this pattern here. Then add in a yellow dye. And you can add in this gradient on the bottom. Then place the new pattern in there with black dye. And use this squiggly design here. Then add in another black dye and use this upper box corner design like this over here. Then we can add in one more black piece of dye and use this black brick pattern down here. And this will give a glowing brick effect. And this will look cool in the nether or in a desert temple. Banner 3. Now this design, you're going to need paper and a daisy. And you can make this flower banner pattern. Then add in a red banner to the loom, use the pattern that we just made, and white dye. Then use a diamond pattern with a white dye and make this design here. Then we can add in a red dye and use this upside down triangle. Then use this circle dot in the center. And that will give you this banner. Banner number 4. Now for this next banner, you're going to have to use 2 flower patterns. And to make this, you'll use daisies and paper. Then we can head into the loom. And in the loom, use a black banner and a cyan dye. Then use this plus sign pattern. Then we can place it back in the loom with black dye. And use this brick pattern here. Then we can grab the new design, place it back in the loom, and use the lime green dye. And make sure to use the flower scroll we used before. Next we can add that back in, make the same design but using cyan dye. Now we can add the new pattern in, remove the old flower pattern scroll, and we can use black dye. And use this upside down triangle design here. Then use black dye one more time, then we can use this squiggly design down here. And that will make this banner design. Now for this next banner, it will look great for a castle. For this, use a red banner and white dye. Then use the border frame, then place that back in the loom and use red dye. Then use the squiggly pattern here. Then we can place it back in the loom and use white dye this time. And use the plus sign. Next, use the design again and add red dye. And use the squiggly design again. And that'll leave you with this design. Banner number 6. Now for this one, we're going to need a flower scroll pattern. And if you already have one, that's great. But if not, you can use paper and a daisy to make it in a crafting table. Then in the loom, you can use a green banner with yellow dye and use the flower pattern. Then we can remove the flower pattern and add in green dye. Then we can use this diamond pattern here. Then we can take that and add in yellow dye. And use this plus design here. And I think this banner would look good in a garden. Banner number 7. Now this one would look good in a castle as well. For this one, use a light blue banner and white dye. Then use this X pattern. And we can use light blue dye for this one. Then add in the plus And we can use more white dye with this white frame. And we can use more white dye with this white frame. And if you like this video, make sure to let me know and I'll make more banner designs.